Welcome to another episode of Conversations That Matter Most. My name is Claudette and I'm known as the Stepmom Coach. And I'm here today with my wonderful, amazing, uplifting, energizing, inspirational Sharona.
Woo! Almost I said, what if I shut up and went, hi. Glad to be here. Hi, everybody. So glad to be here with all of yous, and of course, Claudette. It's always so much fun, and I look forward to these conversations that matter most because we have no idea what is going to transpire through this next few minutes.
Exactly. We do know that we want to talk about changing your habits to change your life. And so we've had some conversation earlier this week, and we do want to have that kind of conversation. And so part of why we say we don't know where we're going to go with this is Sharona and I met over a year ago over a year ago for sure. And then we started having these conversations where we were talking about all kinds of different things that we felt were really important, not only to us, but we wanted to share it with other people, with our followers or our fans, or people who are just interested in this topic. And we didn't want it to be scripted. We didn't want people to feel like we were reading out of like notes or things like this, but actual real conversation between two friends talking about different topics. And because we both come from different areas, I'm on the East Coast, Sharona's on the West Coast, and we deal with different type of clients, we thought this would be a great way of sharing our knowledge, our wisdom, and just share what we know. So Sharona, before we start, how about you share a little bit about what is it that you do and anything else you want to add before we start with our conversation?
Well, what I would like to add is a nice sprinkle of rainbow dusting. I just feel like we need a little rainbow dusting. And what my heart is drawn to and has been drawn to for as long as I can remember is change, transition, transformation. And in the past 10 years or more, I've been focusing working with midlife women dance, which I call midlife women dancing with change, because it is a dance. Life is a dance. Midlife is a dance. And sometimes you got partners that are working with you, and sometimes you got partners that are stepping on your feet. And what do you do about it? So for me, it's always been about how to find the groove and explore new horizons and possibilities while having what I call the practical, grounded, down to earth action steps, so that we're not just thinking about how we want to make a change to, make a life, change our life, but how we can do it in a way that supports us and those around us. So that's a little bit what I do. And it's a dance, learning a dance and being in the dance is a process. And there's this thing that we need to not there's a point when you're learning the dance, you got to think about it, right? Think the steps, count the steps and all that. But at a certain point, you got to trust what I call your belly brain and your spirit to help you find when you hit walls or obstacles or whatever you want to call that. So that's basically my background. And I know that you, Claudette, work with stepmoms, and you've been doing that quite some time.
Yeah, I've been working with stepmoms for 10 years. And actually today is my husband and my 20th wedding anniversary. And And so I was thinking about it, this was a big transition for us. And not only did my husband and I got married, we'd been living together for 7 years, but and moved from Canada to the United States. So talk about change and talk about, changing everything in our lives. And during those 20 years, it wasn't smooth. It was not easy. And there were a lot of challenges. So anybody who's been a stepmom understands that, there are going to be some moments of chaos. And we've had our fair share of it. No, ups and downs, some good moments, some not so great moments. But I think that, when you have an idea of what you want and you focus on what you want to achieve. And obviously, one of the things I want to share during our talk today is that, nothing is perfect. And so when my husband and I came together, we knew ahead of time that we were going to have challenges because we had 7 years of practice living together, knowing fully well that it wasn't going to be easy. So getting married was just one more step into a commitment in making it more solid. So, work with stepmoms because I figured, if we were going through some of the challenges I know we weren't the only one. Even though sometimes it feels like you're the only one and you feel lonely and you're wondering, oh my God, is this normal? Is this not normal? So part of the work I do is share the message, like what we're doing here with myself and Sharona. We're sharing our message and wisdom through both what she does with midlife women and what I do with stepmoms, and also help to sort of normalize some of the things that are going on, because sometimes we have no idea, is the changes and the transitions and transformation we're going through, does this make sense? Does okay to feel like this, to go through this? And so a lot of our conversations are around this. So today, Sharona and I want to talk about changing our habits and changing our lives. And, there's a lot to be said about, when we do things like a habit. A lot of times, if I look at a habit, it's something we do unconsciously, right? We just do it because we are used to doing it. One of my bad habits, and I honestly say I'm still working on it, but I'm definitely better, is that I tend to yell. I'm a yeller. I'm a screamer. That is a bad habit. And it's not something that I had to do. It's something that I learned, and because I got the results I was looking for, it worked. Right? And so a lot of times we do these habits, we do these things, I'm going to say automatically or unconsciously, because they work. And so if you think about a habit, there's something that benefits you or there's something that don't necessarily benefit you in a positive way. There's some benefit, but it doesn't add that much value and joy to your life. So what do you think about this, Sharona?
Well, it's interesting because I think everything we actually, if you really think about it as humanoids, I like that word, humanoid. We go around a lot of times doing things automatically. There's a lot of stuff we do automatically. And I remember when I was in theater and in dance and all that and performing, I decided to call them rituals. There were rituals for me to get onto stage, to deal with my pre-show jitters, to deal with my after-show wiredness. Because after I do a show, I'm not exhausted, I'm wired. So I had to create what I called rituals. They were, for some other, they would be habits. When I look at habits, I look at things that I do that I know isn't working for me, and I still do them anyway. So for me, one of my habits was I am a former sugar addict. I was very, 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 very addicted to sugar. Um, and I did that my whole life. And it was interesting because when I was younger, my we were not allowed to have we didn't have sugar in the house. We m- I don't know what we had for birthdays, but it wasn't big. And I remember at 5 years old, I remember this vividly. I went to somebody else's birthday party. I was 5 years old, and they had a big chocolate cake, and I ate that first bite, and like, oh my god, I thought I found heaven. This was the best thing I've ever eaten. So from that point on, I did all kinds of wacky things to get sugar, um, and chocolate, sugar and chocolate together. And so this last year, I've been and before that, I've been working on letting go of addictions or habits or whatever you want to call it that are not supportive of me. And so I actually was told by three different people who did not know each other that if did not stop eating sugar, I would become a diabetic. I was just on that verge. I get was it hyperglycemic or something? I was on that verge. And so um and I as we talk about making a change and changing your life, change doesn't happen overnight. It is a process. So that first 3 months, when I decided to, yes, I am giving up sugar, I went through withdrawals and it sucked. And all the toxins were coming out and I felt worse. And that was the thing I had to remember from learning, from letting go of other things. When we let go, we're going to make the change. When we're at the point of letting go, it feels really crappy. And so
Yeah.
what do we do is we go back.
Yeah, and it's true because we go back to what's comfortable, right? So for you was eating sugar, there was this satisfaction. We do habits or rituals, whatever you want to call them, but let's habits. We do these habits because there's a certain level of immediate satisfaction. I'm not talking after you settle down and say, oh, why did I do this, right? Like for you eating sugar, you had an immediate rush, an immediate satisfaction that down the road you said, oh, I feel crappy. And I love sugar the same. And I started to realize over time that, when I eat too much sugar, my joints feel stiff. And then I have like this crash, I call it, where I'm really energized and all of a sudden, poof, I fall down. The same when I'm yelling, I get frustrated and I yell because it's an immediate release of the frustration I'm feeling. And because in the past people would stop and listen, so there was an immediate satisfaction. So whatever we do, when you look at a habit, and we talked about when I used to smoke, the same thing. I would smoke because it was an immediate release. I felt calm. People will do it with drinking. People will do all kinds of habits, to get an immediate release or an immediate satisfaction of something. Now, sometimes those are good, like running. I know people who love to run when they're frustrated and they get that adrenaline rush. And so they get into that habit. So what happens, I believe, in my opinion, anyways, and maybe Sharona, you can jump in a bit, is that some habits are really great for us and they transform our lives in a positive direction. And there are other times where they're not. These habits can be destructive to our lives. A lot of times people will say, it takes 21 days to change a habit. You showing up, but I don't tend to believe that. It takes a lot longer because we tend to fall back. It's not set in stone. It takes a lot more than 21 days, one. And it also, you need to also change the reason for the new habit. And it can't be, well, I want to get sugar or I want to lose weight. It has to be deeper and more meaningful than just that.
Yeah, and I think one of the things is as uh as I, was going through this process of like letting go of sugar, one of the things is it doesn't take, again, you start with the change, you get to that place where it doesn't feel good and you want to go back. But if you actually lean into that uncomfortableness and go forward saying, yeah, this feels like crap. I don't want to do this. This is harder than I thought it would be. Why isn't this coming easy? I've done things like this before. Why is this so hard? That conversation. But if you find the way to find little ways of walking through it. So one of the things I did was I started um, overeating, if you will, very sweet fruits. So I would still get that sensation of sugar, but it would be coming from a fruit source. So I did bananas and mango, anything that I thought was very, very sweet. And so, and then I would say, and it said, you can have anything you want, Sharona, you just can't have sugar. You can eat as much as you want, you can't have sugar. So I had to go through steps. So the first thing I had to do was let go of the sugar from the house. I had to get anything that had sugar in it out of the house and not bring it in. The other thing too is when we're going through a change or we're going to change a habit, I don't here okay. So let's say you pick up a pen. And most of us have years of writing with a pen. We hold it a certain way. Well, they found out about 5 years ago, if you hold it this way, it 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 doesn't call it releases what they call carpal tunnel. Okay? So you pick it up and you put it that way. It feels different when you write like this, but it actually relaxes all the muscles in the wrist. Okay. So here's the thing. If I pick up a pen, guess what happens? It automatically goes to the what I was doing for years and years and years. And this is because when we start a habit, it feels awkward. But in the brain, what is happening? Neurons are making paths to say, this is how you do it. So you're learning how to ride a bike. The brain had to build up all those neurons to say, this is how you balance. This is how you do. It had to learn in the body. So the body has memory. The brain has memory of how you're supposed to hold a pen. Now, what I usually do now when I pick up a pen, I'll pick it up and then I just make that transition. I have not yet, and I've been working on this for almost 2 years, pick up a pen that way. First of all, it's kind of hard, but it doesn't work. It doesn't. So I have to keep moving it. Same thing when I decided I was always stirring water or tea or coffee with my right hand. I decided to learn to do it the other way with my left hand. And again, it was messy. It was, yeah. But now because the neurons had to, so this 21-day thing, I don't believe your brain, the body has to work together to figure out how to be in this new zone. And everybody's time is very different.
Exactly. And one of the things that I was thinking as you were talking is that, when you were talking about memory, we do things out of habit because it feels comfortable, right? When you were talking about why is this not easy? Why is this so hard? Because it's something different. When I know you work with midlife women. So imagine, you've been working a certain way in the office, or your lifestyle was a certain way. Let's say you had kids at home and all of a sudden you're an empty nester. Your life is totally different. And so you need to change your routine, your way of living. And um, it's going to be very uncomfortable. It's going to be very messy. The same with stepmoms, right? If you were a single working career woman, and all of a sudden you meet this guy and he has kids, totally different. So you need to create more new habits in like getting up, getting the house ready, preparing, and it takes time. And I think one of the things that you mentioned, Sharona, is that there are a a a way of that time works, and we talked about them. So you talked about 4 quadrants, right?
Right.
And one of the quadrants was hitting a wall, or an obstacle. And then when we hit that wall or that obstacle, sometimes we don't know what to do, and we feel that like we're just going to revert back to the way things were because it was easier, we feel more comfortable. But the reality is that we need to go through that difficult period in order to benefit and reap the rewards.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of the things is, yeah, I think one of the things too is, as you're talking about that, is I think we have this hallucination that life is about being comfortable. And life is not about being comfortable. It's about, or this, what is it, the pursuit of happiness or whatever that is. Life is basically chaotic and a struggle. And we are constantly trying to bring it all in, and then we try all these wacky. So here's, it's just something that's just my observation. Life is a struggle. It is. And we just got to find a little reprieve from it and find our calmness in it. So when you hit that uncomfortable spot, when it feels uncomfortable, it feels awkward, like picking up a pen and putting it in, it feels awkward. If you put the pen in the other hand, it feels awkward. It, so, and I think in that awkwardness, and this is just, my point of view, is it feels vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
When we going through change, there is a deep sense of vulnerability because we are going into the unknown. We're not sure what's going to happen. And so one of the things we can look at is whatever change or habit you want to change is, again, go back to what's the reason for the change? Why am I doing? Is it just so that I look pretty, or do I need to make a health thing? Or is it I really need to get a different job? Or is it I really need to downsize my house? Whatever that is. And then create, one of the things is a plan, an action plan. What are you going to do daily? I think one of the things is when we need to make these changes, it's taking like little baby steps every day.
Yeah. And not trying to change everything in your life at the same time, right?
No, no, that's mashugana.
Yeah, and Michigan, exactly. So when, for example, when my husband and I, got married and we moved here. I mean, just the fact that we got married was a huge change in our family dynamics. Plus, within 4 days, we moved from Canada to the US, a huge change. And so we just picked, and then a new house, new school. So we expected to have like some really challenging times and struggles. Plus, my husband started a new job. He was moving, he was traveling. And so we picked like one thing to focus on that could be easier done than any of the other stuff. And so that was like focusing on school, getting ready for school. Let's create a new routine, a new habit for school because it was totally different. And so we're just going to focus on this until everybody felt better. The other thing is to focus also on what, that little moment during the day, you feel like, okay, I can breathe now. I can just like breathe and do something. For me, it was taking a bath or a long, long shower. So that was my isolation period where I could go back to something that habit that I was comfortable with, that I knew that felt good. So that was like that automation feel that I didn't have to think about, right? That what
Right.
we were talking in the beginning, doing something without having to think about it. Well, just taking a bath, sitting in the bathtub or shower, a long, long shower, and I knew for me that felt good. So whenever, that I was changing a habit that was challenging, more demanding, because I remember those first 6 months, I cried so much. I cried a lot because of all the changes that were happening. It was like overwhelming,
Mm.
right? So that's why you focus on one, especially if you're doing something really big. Now, if you're doing something smaller, like changing eating habits, change one thing, just one thing, and not try to change your entire world at the same time, because it's overwhelming. It gets to be too much.
And you know what? As you were talking, Claudette, I came up with, self care. I think one of the things is, you're taking your breath, taking a bath, taking a moment, decompressing. A lot of times, when I when I work with midlife women going through a career transition or trying to find a new job, they think they got to do it, 24/7. But you got your whole other part of your life to do. And yes, you got to do certain actions to get to where you need to go. But one of the things is to really give yourself self-care. And I liked what you said, and it reminds us that we try to take on everything. I don't know why we do that, but we think we need to. I don't know who made up that lie, but liar, liar, pants on fire. So one of the things is what I did is when like, for instance, I'm going to go back to letting go of sugar. So what I did is I just let go of sugar. I did not try to portion my food. I didn't do any of that. All my only goal was to let go of sugar. That was it. Now, for my self-care, and I've always done this, is I do physical exercise. So I kept that up. I kept up, going for my walks. I kept up uh things that were supportive for me already. But I didn't want to do any other dietary change until the sugar was gone. And that took about 3 months. Then, as I processed on, I found other things that I was sensitive to that I, again, let go of. But every time I let go of something, I wasn't making any other drastic change to my eating. So, for instance, if you know that you need to bring more greens in, let's say, more greens into your life, I'm not saying go out and get oodles of basket. Just get some green, whatever that is. Now, I know kale has a bad habit. Don't eat, bad reputation. I happen to like kale. Some people don't. Find, find a vegetable that you like.
Yeah.
You know, so that's, so look at just one thing to focus on. And if you are in the middle of like what Claudette was going through, a lot of changes all happening at once, you again, self-care. Find those moments where you can go, I can take a breath here. I don't have to do this now. Um, you know, and we are doing a lot of changes in our life daily, but we need to focus, we need to break it down to doable actions that we can take without feeling overwhelmed,
Yeah.
even though it might be chaotic.
Yeah. So as we wrap up, because we're moving on here, and I just want to say that, if you're going through some change and want to change a habit that you have, whether it's a habit of eating, a habit of, your parenting, or a habit of lifestyle, and some support. If you're in midlife, a midlife woman, and need some extra support, Sharona, how can these women get a hold of you so that you can help them through those changes and transitions?
So yeah, so one of the things that you can do is you can reach me as if you're a midlife woman and you're just going, you know what, right now my life is so full of change. I don't know what the heck. I feel like I'm stuck in this bubble of changing constantly, and you just want a little reprieve or a little structure or something that will help you move through it and navigate it with a little bit more ease. Um, and find your comfort spots. I just realized sometimes we just need to find our comfort, our oasis from the chaos. Um, you can reach me at Sharona at midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. Also, a website, www.midlifewomendancingwithchange.com. You can find me at hashtag midlifewomendancingwithchange. And you can also find me with hashtag emotional impact. And the third one is now hashtag thriving in the midst of midlife change. And if you go to when you go to my website, you'll also find there's a free mini e-series called Thriving in the Midst of Midlife Change. And it will start giving you some of those little tools, tips, suggestions, strategies to help you start bringing it back grounded, and so that you don't feel like everything is like in turmoil. um, I'm I'm also going to be releasing in the next for the next 2 weeks a free download um, called Courageous Midlife Women, Taking Risks and Reaping Rewards. That's going to be a freebie before I which is a value of $17. So that is going to be a freebie for our next 2 weeks. So you might want to go to the website, and that should be coming up in the next couple days. So those are some ways that you can do it. And Claudette, if there's a stepmom who's gone through oodles of things going on and just wants to change a simple habit, who can they, how they can get a hold of you?
Thank you, Sharona. So, if you're a stepmom and you're dealing with a lot of change and want to change some of the habits that your stepkids are doing, or maybe some of your own habits, like some of my habits that I realized I had that were not very constructive in building stronger and healthier relationships, you can find me at stepmomcoach.com. You can use the hashtag stepmomcoach or stepmomwisdom. Those are two hashtags that I use a lot. And you'll find me on social media everywhere. And I also have a website. Again, it's stepmomcoach.com, where there's some programs, e-courses that you can take, and there's plenty of free resources for you as well. And as we wrap up and finish up here, remember that whenever you want to go, you're going through some changes, and you want to better your life, whether it's being a midlife woman, being a stepmom, or just anybody, and you want to create a better life for yourself. Personally, for myself, I have found that when you have the support of another person, you don't have to have a whole crowd, but at least another person, if you have a few, that helps. Your changes tend to be more lasting and more permanent, because another person will help you have a better perspective of the changes you've gone through, help you look through the rear view mirror and see where you came from and where you're going towards.
Yep, I agree. I think it's better. You know what? We're not meant to do this alone. We're meant to be in little villages. Uh, so sometimes finding a faithful sidekick or a change buddy is something that we need to look at, or we need to have. So you don't have to do this alone, people. You
Yep.
can make this. Yep. Anyway,
And Sharona and I are here to help you. So thank you very much for being here. And if you like this episode, we'd love for you to share it. And in the bottom here, if you want to comment, we'd love that. Subscribe to our channel. And this way you'll always be notified of when we have more episodes that are coming up. So this is it for today, and I want to thank you, Sharona, for being here, to being my wonderful sidekick, being here with me. I love it. I have so much fun with you. So thank you for being here.
you're welcome, and I'm glad. Yes, me too. And let's have a bestest day
Have
today.
best this day. All right. Thank you, everyone. Bye. Take
Bye.
care. See you next time.